Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Film is Okie Dokie. I am Tommy. With me, as always, is my co-host CJ. CJ, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Full disclosure, neither of us slept well last night, so a slightly sleepy episode.
Sleepy Siege.
But I'm doing all right, buddy. I'm here. I'm pumped up. I'm energized.
Good. I'm energized as well. I wanted to tell you, I started a new show last night.
Okay.
Based on one of your recommendations that you've given me.
Okay. Oh boy.
I've watched the first episode of The Owl House.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah, I figured I would bring that up. That would energize you a bit.
That does energize me. What did you think?
It was okay. I mean, first episodes are first episodes, and clearly it's aimed at a younger audience, but it was okay. I like the thing that I really liked about it was just the fantasy aspect is like slightly grotesque. I didn't necessarily gel with the kiddiness of it, like the show in general, but like she goes to the into the fantasy world or whatever it's called, the whatever aisles, and like there's a roly-poly dude with like a baby face, and I'm like, ooh, that's weird. I like that. So like lots of weird stuff, which I like.
I will say that the deeper the show gets, the less kiddie, the more like adult themed, or like maybe adult themed, but like older oriented it gets. And I will also say the first 3 episodes, you have to get through the first 3 episodes.
Okay. I think I can manage that.
Once you get past episode 3, the premise of the show, like, because I call it premise fatigue, where it's like Pinocchio, right? If you had a show about Pinocchio, what's Pinocchio's goal? Pinocchio's goal is he wants to be a real boy. And so the first 3 episodes of the Pinocchio TV show would be, oh my God, I want to be a real boy.
Pinocchio's here?
Yeah, I know.
Pinocchio, when did you get here? Who gave you a microphone?
I just got it on the Greyhound.
Holy shit, how did you afford that? Did you steal from Geppetto?
I did. I stole from Geppetto, and I robbed
your nose is
woman.
growing. Your nose is growing. You didn't steal from Geppetto. Where did you get that money, Pinocchio?
I sold the cow for some magic beans.
Speaking of cows.
Speaking of cows. Wow. Okay. Pivot. I was going to say, real quick, you have to get past the premise fatigue of the Owl House, because the first 3 or 4 episodes are, how I want to be a witch. It's like, yes, we know. How can I be a witch? Okay. It's been like 2 minutes. Chill out. I want to be a witch. So it's like the first couple episodes are like that. It's like Naruto, where he's like, I'm gonna be the 5th Hokage, believe it. But it's he's like on his first ever mission, and he doesn't know how to do shit.
So what I'm hearing is that in the 4th episode she becomes a witch.
It happens pretty early.
Okay. Well, I'll keep you updated with how it comes along.
Please
I
keep me posted.
I just finished up I like having a show to watch kind of in the background while I play games on my Steam Deck or whatever. And I just finished up I'm all caught up now on the Harley Quinn show. So I was like, Owl House seems like it'll be a good, it'll be a good replacement. Plus, gotta be honest, I thought, you know what? And if I watch the Owl House, CJ will feel so guilty and be inclined to watch Andor.
Can I tell you that someone told me to watch Middleditch and Schwartz, and that's not really like my thing, like improv, cringe kind of comedy. And so like when they're talking to the audience, I hated that. Like I couldn't stand that.
Oh, at the beginning when they asked questions?
I couldn't do it. I had to skip through it. Once they started doing the improv, I could do it, but I couldn't watch them interact with the audience.
Really?
I can't do it.
It's interesting.
No, I can't watch The Office either.
Really?
No, I really can't.
Wow.
I can't do
this
it.
Is so. Have you watched Nathan For You?
No, I don't know what that is. But
one of the greatest shows ever. But what I'm hearing is you wouldn't fuck with it at all. At all.
Probably not. But I wanted to watch it because a friend of ours told me about it. Well, I guess there's really no reason to keep it a secret. It was Jay that told me to watch it. And so I watched it and it was really good. It was really fun. But I knew when I watched it that Jade's recommendation, she had essentially cut the line. And all of the shows that you've told me to watch that I have told you I was going to watch, like I think you should leave or. And I'm like,
Shrinking.
Or Shrinking. I'm like, okay, this isn't going to have like a repercussion for me because you're not that kind of a person, but I am aware this does upset the natural order of things.
Oh, you think no repercussion, but just wait till you see me in person next.
Yeah,
I'm showing up with what are those called? Oh my god, why am I blanking? What are the things you put? Brass knuckles. Like, what are the brass things you put on your knuckles?
Yeah, there you go. You got there in the end. That's fine.
Yeah. I always get there.
We have to address what the answer is about the cow.
Yes. So, speaking of Jade, we talked about the cow earlier. Speaking of Jade, Jade's my partner. She is the what's the word? The arbiter in this Flossie debate. Just to remind everyone, we last episode, CJ told a story about going to the butcher and just on a whim threw out the name Flossie for a cow, and I was taken aback by that. Mm-hmm. And then CJ took to ChatGPT to prove the point that Flossie is a good name for a cow. And yeah. I would like to. I'll get into why I vehemently disagreed in the moment after we have the verdict revealed, because that's a whole other topic. But we said that we would throw it to Jade, my partner, to be the arbiter for this, and we have an answer. Neither of us know what it is yet. She sent it to us together and spoiler tagged it. So she took notes while she was listening. So CJ, are you ready to reveal with me what the verdict is?
I have my cursor over it.
Okay.
All right.
Also, I should say the stakes were if Flossie was decided to be a bad name for a cow, CJ would owe me a toy car.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. If Flossie were determined to be a good name for a cow.
Flossie would be a terrible name for a car.
That's a whole other topic. We'll get into that some other time. If it was determined to be a good name for a cow, I would owe CJ a unsolved Rubik's Cube. So CJ, you ready to reveal?
Yep, you're ready.
All right, let's do it.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm sorry, Flossie? Whoa!
Wow.
Let's go.
I can't fucking believe this.
Team Tommy, sorry CJ. AI will always be on your side until it turns against you. Let's go.
I am
never
enraged.
had a doubt. Never had a doubt.
Flossie is a great name for a cow.
No, it is not. No, it is not.
Why?
So it's why? Tell me in your own words why it's a good name for a cow.
Okay. I feel like I've met a cow named Flossie.
You've met a cow named Flossie.
Yeah, I think it matters.
Okay. I don't think that's a very sound argument. I've met people who I don't like their name. I've met dogs and cats who have horrible dog and cat names.
You
know?
Yeah. Look, I was not prepared for this outcome.
I freaking was. I was ready. I freaking knew it. I didn't know it, but I just had a gut feeling.
Flossie the cow. Maybe. No. Also, you spelled it wrong.
Spelled it wrong?
Yeah.
How? That's how I thought to spell it. Flossy. How are you supposed to spell it? How are you spell
an IE?
Oh.
Yeah. That makes a difference.
I would say it does make a difference, but not a big enough difference to the point where I would say it makes it a good name.
Well, I'm a person of my word, and so I'm going to send you a toy car.
Let's go! I mean, you can save on postage and just give it to me next time I see you.
Oh no, I'm gonna send it to you. That way you can open it on the podcast because I'm a professional.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see, making content out of it. I like it. That way you can expense the postage charge.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Now, Jade said in her notes, AI will always be on your side until it turns against you. And that leads me to something I wanted to bring up. Why I was so vehemently against this argument made last time. Now, I did a little homework. I went back, I listened to the pod, and I wrote down verbatim what ChatGPT said about the Flossie name. Mm-hmm. I'm going to read it now. Flossie can indeed be a charming and fitting name for a cow. It evokes a sense of softness and gentleness, which aligns well with the image of a cow. Naming animals can be a fun and personal choice. So if Flossie resonates with you and suits the personality and appearance of your cow, then it's definitely a good name. Ultimately, the best name is one that you like and feels right for you. Now, I'm going to send this to you, CJ, so you can, have it in front of you. I'm sending it in the show chat. That is the biggest non-answer of all time. And this is
100%.
And this is just AI. It's always like, for example, just yesterday, I finished watching a video I'd started earlier in the week. Eddie Burback did a video where he bought the Apple Pro headset or whatever, and at one point he has like an AI girlfriend, and he's like, "Oh, should I shave my 5 o'clock shadow? What do you like?" asking the AI, and she goes, "Well, some guys really pull it off. Some guys really pull off the clean shaven. It just depends how you wear it." And he's like, which do you prefer?" And she's like, "I think I might prefer this, but really it's up to you." And it's just like, it's just non-answers because AI, it doesn't know what it's saying. It's just linking words together that go together in patterns, it picks up on so that's why I'm vehemently on the side. No, I will take that stand. Flossie's not a good name for a cow, especially with that argument that it made, because it said a whole lot of nothing. You could replace that word with anything, and it just comes down to that last sentence. Ultimately, the best name is one that you like and feels right for you. It's like it's almost like a really shitty therapist. Therapists should help you arrive at conclusions. Okay. But AI just fucking, it's like if a therapist just kicked you to the curb and said, you're on your own.
Do you remember that scene in Oh Brother Where Art Thou where they're escaping the chain gang for the first time? Mm-hmm. And John Turturro goes, "Who elected you leader of this outfit?" Mm-hmm. And then they start arguing, and he's like, "Well, I'm voting for yours truly." And then George Clooney goes, "I'm voting for yours truly too." They turn to Tim Blake Nelson to be the tiebreaker, and he goes, "All right, I'm with you fellas." That, in a nutshell, is AI.
that is honestly such a good comparison.
Yeah.
It's such a good comparison.
Listen, I also don't want AI to make decisions. Like, in the end of the day, I used AI because I thought it was funny to get an AI answer. I don't like AI, and I think AI will kill us all. So, I more or less, I'm okay that it's indecisive, but in the one time that I thought I could use it to my advantage, I did, and it didn't work. So, fuck you, AI. Flossie is a great name for a cow, but I never welch on my bets, and I already have your toy car picked out.
Yes, I'm super excited to see what it is.
Yeah.
Super excited.
Good.
Completely changing subjects now.
Yes.
CJ, I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite frozen pizza?
My favorite.
I'm just commandeering the conversation right now.
No, you're fine. I think I know where you're going, and it's really just you're just really laying it all out there right now for this stupid joke. I think my favorite would be the fresh cheddar 4 cheese pizza. That's probably my favorite.
Is fresh cheddar a brand?
Yes, fresh cheddar is a brand, and you
Okay.
get the 4 cheese with the pepperoni on it is pretty good. The one I've had the
Fresh
most
cheddar.
of is the DiGiorno pepperoni.
See, I'm not. Oh, fresh cheddar. Oh, okay. I was thinking fresh cheddar as in like cheddar, like cheddar, not bruschetta.
No.
You know.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen this. It's good. I don't think I've ever had it before.
No, it's really good. Yeah, it has I don't want to say any of these taste fresh, but it is the one that has like for me has the freshiest that isn't like actually fresh.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of caveats. Sometimes you get them and they're like, oh, this is fresh. It's like, okay, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
I'm seeing a picture that someone posted to the Frozen Dinners subreddit. They had heated up a Canadian style bacon and pineapple pizza. And, you know, we're not here to deliberate the validity of pineapple on pizza, but I will say for a frozen pizza, that looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, they look good.
So which one did you say is your favorite?
Oh, the fresh cheddar one. Yeah, the pepperoni.
Oh, just pepperoni?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I see that there's also whole grain crust or naturally rising. I'm guessing the naturally rising.
Yeah, they're
ones.
rising. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to have to, not the thin crust.
Or do
they not have thin crust?
So they do. They have like a brick oven crust or whatever. Mm-hmm. I get the 5. If you get the 5 cheese, it's sort of like a flat square pizza, which is pretty good.
Okay, so that's the one I should look out for the next time I'm at the store.
Listen, that one for dollar, I think that one's better than the base. But when you're asking someone like, "Hey, recommend me a frozen pizza," I don't recommend that one because it doesn't have it doesn't meet it's not the core category.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, what's your favorite hamburger restaurant? It's like, okay, well, if we're comparing hamburgers, you can't compare the Dave's Double to the McDonald's hamburger.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's got all this extra stuff. There's categories to this. There's layers to it. Anyway.
I'm with you. I agree.
All right. Now, Tommy, what's your favorite brand of pizza?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me regale you in my history of favorite pizzas first.
Okay.
Now, growing up, my favorite, the big
son of a bitch.
I'm glad you asked. The big grocery store chain in the Chicago area is Jewel Osco, Jewel or Jules as we locals call it, and they have a generic brand of frozen pizza, and my family. And I think most people refer to them of something along these lines, just call them Jewel Thin and Crispy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was around a decade ago or so. The brand is now called Signature Select. That's Jewel's own brand, just like Target's is like Up and Up or whatever, or something pantry.
Mm-hmm.
But the Signature Select pizzas, I feel like they changed the recipe at some point in the last decade and they're not as good. So when that happened, I then pivoted to Jack's. Do you have Jack's out by you?
No.
All right. I think Jack's might be a Midwestern thing. I know for sure that it's not available like west of the Midwest. I know that it's not in Colorado. I know that it's not in California. Jack's is pretty good. It's just a really solid, reliable, thin crust pizza. But when I moved to Colorado a year and a half or so ago, or whenever that was, they didn't have Jack's. So I was like, well, what's the next best one? What's my second favorite pizza? And it's they had it in stock and I had it a lot and I had it so much it's become my favorite. And that pizza is Tombstone. And today we're watching motherfucking Tombstone.
Yeah, you really cooked the whole bird on that one.
I cooked the whole damn pizza.
You set that joke up. That was the equivalent of you telling someone to go long, and then you're like, I'm going to drop this in the breadbasket.
And you know the best part is I said Tombstone is my favorite frozen pizza at the end of the last podcast.
You did, I know. I was there. I was there.
CJ, why don't you tell me a bit about your history and everything with Tombstone?
Okay. So I grew up watching, my dad loved Westerns. And so like when I was like 4 years old, I would go to his store because he owned a card store, a baseball card shop. and I had a little TV in the back when I was a little kid. Little. I don't even remember really. But I had a little TV and a VCR in the back, and I would watch like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly at like 4 years old. I would we just watched so many westerns, a lot of John Wayne, mostly John Wayne, and we never watched Tombstone together. I found Tombstone on my own because it's more of an accessible western, especially if you're not into like John Wayne. It's way more accessible, and so I discovered it later with people that were like, I don't like westerns, but I like Tombstone, and that sort of was a different gateway for me because it opened up the idea that like, hey, listen, not everyone's into this genre that you like, but there are exceptions to that, and there are things that transcend across sort of genre aisles, if you will. And one of them is Tombstone. And I couldn't agree more. It's a very accessible Western if you're not into Westerns. Because as I've discovered, most people, it's not that they're not into Westerns, it's that they get, and I say this a lot, I really consider, when watching a movie, genre fatigue and premise fatigue. Like, you just get tired of the premise the longer you go down watching the thing. Like, it's really not unreasonable to say, like, hey, when you're watching John Wayne, once you've seen it once, or once you have an idea of what you're expecting, the next 100 movies you watch, like, yeah, there's nuances for most of them, but a lot of them are the same. A lot of them, he's just wearing a different shirt. You know, like the few ones that he is different, like True Grit or The Searchers, or like She Wore a Yellow Ribbon or McClintock, like those ones stand out because they're slightly different. And because they have slightly different attitude, but like he just played everything the same. So Tombstone, I think, is one very unique in that it has a great cast that people can get behind and understand, and they've seen a lot of these actors and other things, so that there's some identifying there. It's not John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara and Ward Bond. Like, I know who all those people are, but that doesn't mean that the general audience does. So there's an accessibility factor with Tombstone. The second thing with Tombstone that I like to say is it's exceptionally quotable.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the most quotable movies that I've ever watched. And it's easy. It's almost like music, remembering all the words to this movie. Like, one of the things, I'm going to have to restrain myself when we do the commentary because I know all the words. I'm going to have to restrain myself and not say all the words out loud. I'm still going to say some of them out loud. But yeah, it's just like, there's a lot to the movie. There's like a weird thing where like they didn't really have a director. The legend has always been that Kurt Russell was the director. A lot of the cast has sort of refuted that over the years, but there was 2 directors on this movie. And if you have 2 directors, you have no directors. It's just kind of crazy how everything falls into place. I think it's one of my favorite movies. It's definitely in the top 25. I love showing it to people. I love showing it to people as a taste breaker because I feel like this opens people up to other things. I don't want to call it a gateway drug. It opens people up to other things in a genre that most of the time people have kind of written off because they don't want to watch like John Wayne on a horse, being John Wayne for an hour and a half. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a great time. I'm really excited to hear what everybody has to say about it afterwards. After we release the episode, I'm excited to hear what you have to say about it. And I'm one of the reasons I'm excited to be up at in the morning.
I feel like you brought up a lot of interesting things in there that I would love to discuss, and I want to kind of hit a couple of these things. You say this is a really accessible Western. I'm guessing you mean that in a modern sense, like You were naming some of those actors, like John Wayne, of course. Like everyone knows who John Wayne is today, but like, were those guys who, like, say in the 50s or 60s, like people be like, oh, he's in this, I gotta check it out. And they're just names that have like fallen by the wayside in history, and this is the first or one of the first more modern westerns, and it's just like, oh, this has, guys who are in, like Billy Bob Thornton, Kurt Russell's an action star, Val Kilmer, like he is such a big name. Sam Elliott, I don't know how much of a name he was before this came out, but
yeah, no, Sam Elliott had been acting for a long time.
Okay.
So like I said Maureen O'Hara, she played the leading lady in a lot of roles opposite of the Duke. Ward Bond was like a character actor that played in a lot of John Wayne films. I'm basically naming people because most of the time, especially for a good stretch, if it was just John Wayne, he had his supporting cast around him, like of actors he had worked with before. And a lot of that was more prevalent when he was like produced by his own studio.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they usually put John Wayne with somebody. It's like John Wayne with Jimmy Stewart, John Wayne with Lee Marvin, John Wayne with Dean Martin, John Wayne with, so on and so forth. So that's sort of like John Wayne with Robert Mitchum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like John Wayne and kids, John Wayne and, leading lady. So when I say that it's accessible, I'm saying that it's accessible because these actors,
mm-hmm.
right? Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer, and you've at least heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a deep cast list. Like you can go through, and we did at the end of the last episode, but you can go through and be like, hey, I know these people. Like I've heard of most of these actors. Mm-hmm. Or like, oh yeah, like even Michael Rooker, a younger Michael Rooker. Like, a lot of people know Michael Rooker from The Walking Dead. Now, he doesn't play the character he plays in The Walking Dead. But, like, you can watch this movie and be like, oh, I know him. Because it's of a different time. And people, especially in our age bracket, this is going to hit a lot of those. Now, in 30 years, it's not going to be the same level of accessibility because, well, it might be. Because those actors are on a different level than the actors of John Wayne's time. And obviously, the farther we get away from John Wayne, the less relevant he is. But
thankfully,
I think in the next 30 years, you're going to be able to look back and be like, okay, yeah, this may not be as accessible, but I think it's going to be more accessible than like sitting someone down to watch The Undefeated or The Shooter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So another thing you brought up was genre fatigue and premise fatigue. So you are a believer in genre premise fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. I personally I'm not. I feel like the, if something's good, something's good. I feel like it's one of those things where, like, yeah, okay. If the only thing that ever came out, if westerns or comic book movies or whatever genre, insert genre here, was the only thing we had access to, and it was like, hundreds of things of just that, then genre fatigue would, people are like, I want something different. But I feel like there's such a vast, like, ocean of content available that, you get your kicks elsewhere as well. So I think that it's more a decline. Like we're seeing it with like the MCU and everything. It's a decline in quality. It's not that audiences are rejecting these films because they're tired of seeing comic book movies. They're tired of seeing comic book movies retreading the same exact beats. You can keep reinventing a genre, and you can keep, with solid writing and solid directing, you can keep things fresh. I think that creativity is an eternal wellspring amongst a vast populace like we live upon, or live in. So it's one of those things where, I mean, and this is a whole other topic, but I just wanted to say
Yeah.
Interesting.
I did want to just really quickly. So I hear what you're saying about like the infinite wellspring. I do believe that they're real. I don't believe that you can say not you personally. I don't think one can say that you don't believe in them because I think that they're tangible experiences. But specifically and premise fatigue is more micro. Like genre fatigue is a macro idea, right? Like people are getting tired of the MCU. It's not necessarily that people are tired, and yeah, obviously we can rage against the machine of Disney all we want, but you know, the mouse always wins. It's really the formula of the superhero movie that we get tired of. And that's part of genre fatigue. It's like, it happens all the time. Like, there are genres that don't exist anymore as well as they used to. Like, Westerns don't exist as well as they used to because they burned the wick at both ends, trying to get every penny out of it. And the same thing with musicals. You don't have golden age of Hollywood musicals anymore. I mean, you don't have those sort of trained actor dancers anymore either, but that doesn't mean that none of them exist and you couldn't do it. It's just that, hey, listen, they really, it's been done. It's been overdone. Premise fatigue, especially as it applies to like episodic content. Yeah, I'm going to plant my flag on that one. That one burns me out quick, right? If every episode of Dragon Ball was, we got to get the Dragon Balls. We got to get the Dragon Balls. Every episode. Goku, what are you doing? I've got to go get the Dragon Balls. Believe it. Like, okay, yes, I get it. Can you do or say anything else? Naruto? Hokage? Believe it? Luz from the Owl House? Yes, I know you want to be a witch. Do you have anything else you want to say of interest or note? Because I would love to hear it. Because so far all you've said is, I want to be a witch. And again, you have to get past a certain point, right? It's like watching the first I'm sure you've watched because you're a big Star Wars fan, the Clone Wars animated show.
Yeah.
I put that show down because I got tired of being hit over the head with, I want to be a Jedi. It's like, it's the third episode. You're not going to be the Jedi yet. And then, of course, that show gets really good and everyone tells you to watch it. But the first few episodes are like, teamwork makes the dream work, mate. It's like, okay, yes, cool, kid show, got it. But it's just backdrop by Ahsoka being like, I want to be a Jedi like my big bro Annie. It's like, oh my God, no, come on. You know?
First off, she would never call him a bro.
Nope, there you go.
No, I think you have a lot of good points in regards to premise fatigue. I agree with a lot of what you said. Again, I think that it's more of a sign of. I think there's a whole other discussion that could be had there amongst, especially you talked about Westerns falling by the wayside, golden age of musicals. I do think that there is still a desire for that. I mean, look at like the recent Oscars with Ryan Gosling doing "I'm Just Ken" and it being a entire throwback to what's that one specific one he was
La La Land.
No. It was like a Marilyn Monroe musical, like way back in the day. It's. But pretty much, if they're even wearing like the same, I'm totally blanking on the name. Let me do a quick Google. It's a
Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
Yeah, and it's just like people were like raving over this, and a lot of like the showmanship and the stagecraft, and like I think that there still is the audience there, but it's one of those things where it's like you said, the wick has been burnt at both ends. I think it's more of an issue talking about the demand of studios to milk that out and focus more on profits than creativity, and focusing in the wrong spots to where a genre becomes more known for its failures as driven by those corporate decisions rather than people just getting tired of seeing the same settings over and over. But again, totally different thing. We shouldn't dally on this too much. Let's keep moving on. We should get to watching this movie soon, I think.
Yes.
So just to give my background real quick with this movie, never seen it. I have seen a good amount of Westerns. My dad was a big Western fan. My grandpa's a huge Western fan, but I've seen a handful. I haven't seen too many John Wayne, but I've seen Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I loved that movie in college. The music from it alone, just chef's kiss. I've seen High Noon, absolute classic. That was one from my childhood that I've seen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, I think there's a Clint Eastwood Western called like Bronco Billy. I saw that when I was young. I've seen Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, great movie. Fastest Gun. Is there Fastest Gun in the West? Is that one?
I think so.
I think I've seen that one then. And then
Fastest Gun Alive.
Maybe. I think so. I feel like I've messaged you about that one before.
Yeah.
And just I've seen a few of the newer ones. 3:10 to Yuma, the remake. Right, that's a remake.
Yep.
I've seen the True Grit remake. So like I've seen.
Your hands, you son of a bitch.
Is that when he rides with his teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that one in theaters. And the 3:10 to Yuma. Good movies.
Farrell, you and your brother stand clear. I have no interest in you today. Same with you, doctor.
I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Westerns are something that it's like, it's, I would say compared to you, a big blind spot, but it's definitely a genre I've seen, a good handful of movies in, but Tombstone, I truly couldn't tell you the first thing about it other than what we've talked about with the cast, who I'm looking at is in it, and the first little blurb I see about it, after cleaning up Dodge City.
Wait a minute. You think Tombstone is about them cleaning up Dodge City?
No, after cleaning up Dodge City. Then they go to Tombstone.
Well, Kurt Russell comes from Dodge. Kansas City lawman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, Dodge is in Kansas? Or Missouri?
Dodge City, Kansas, right? Yeah. Oh. City in Kansas.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
The more you know. Straight out of is that where the saying straight out of Dodge is from?
Yeah, get out of Dodge, yeah.
Is that from this movie?
No, it's not from the movie. It's from the city, Dodge.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was ready to have my mind blown. Yeah, I was ready to have my mind blown of learning that people saying someone straight out of Dodge is from this movie.
Oh, no.
Oh.
No.
Damn.
Nope. Anyway, okay, so thank you to everybody for listening to the first half of the podcast. If you want to listen to the companion audio track, you can go to YouTube, and it'll be in the description. Actually, it should be in the description wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can click on that. That'll be the companion audio track. There'll be instructions in that audio track on how to follow along with us. If you have already seen Tombstone, or you want to just listen to the recap or the plot explanation after the fact, you can go ahead and continue listening, and nothing will change. We will just magically come back in a few days, having watched it and ready to recap it for you. So if you are wanting to pause the podcast to go listen to the companion audio track with our commentary, pause the podcast right now.
Yeah, man of many parts.
Does that say Woodhead and Gaze Grocery? How progressive.
That's where I shop.
Like I said, we just got here. All right.
I feel bad for this woman.
Guess I don't.
Well, she's an opium addict, so.
Oh, then she deserves it.
No.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to The Film is Okie Dokie. We just watched the movie Tombstone.
Oh. Boo.
We just watched Tombstone, but it's been a few days for us. We got some catching up to do. CJ, how you been?
Yeah, no, pretty good. I went to the Yankee game on Monday, and literally fucking everywhere is the Gap. Everywhere says watch the Gap, mind the Gap. Like, I was sending it to people, and they didn't believe me. That everywhere at the train says mind the Gap, watch the Gap. They say it over the radio, or over, what do you call it? Overhead. Watch the Gap, mind the Gap. So it's printed on the back of the tickets. When you buy train tickets, it says watch the Gap, mind the Gap, but you don't have that at all.
Not at all. And you sent both me and Jade pictures of Mind the Gap while you were traveling to the Yankees game. And both of us, unprompted, took to pulling up various train stations in Chicago and the Chicagoland area to show you that nowhere are the words Mind the Gap or Watch the Gap.
I gotta be honest, I never thought that would be a regional difference. I never considered that they wouldn't just tell you always to mind the gap. What do?
You just stay off the tracks. You don't get hit by a train.
Does the train pull right up to the platform?
Yeah.
There's no gap.
I see what you're saying. No, I mean, I would say that there's probably a step that you have to take, but it's not. Yeah. I never hear, maybe it's because I don't pay attention to the news, never hear stories about people either walking on, getting hit by trains here or falling between a train and the platform or even touching the third rail. That's kind of the big one here is like, don't touch the third rail. Never hear anything, but I guess people just outside of New York don't need the reminders.
Wow. Okay. Listen, it's public service, okay? Public service. What else happened? Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say we have a follow-up to Flossie.
We do. That's where I was going. So, for the train, which I took to the Yankees game, because the train takes you right to Yankees East 153rd Street. So it's like, and that might sound far because Yankee Stadium is 161st Street, but you just walk past where the old Yankee Stadium is, and then you're across the street from the stadium. So it's not that far. And so I went to the Yankee game. It was fine. But I wanted to download some things to watch on the train and my problem is because there's no service on the train. Once you get about 10 minutes away from the train where I get on, there's no service until you get to the city. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to download a bunch of stuff to my phone to watch. So I downloaded I downloaded a ton of stuff that I ended up watching, but I didn't know what I'm going to want to watch. So in that spirit, I put a bunch of short things on that even if I'm not interested in watching them per se, they're short, right? So you just watch them and they just take time off the trip. It's like a 90-minute train ride. If it's the express, it's about 2.5 hours if it stops at every stop. Depends on what train you get. And one of them was a bunch of classic Mickey Mouse cartoons, which I used to love as a kid. So I'm like, I haven't seen these in a while. I'll watch them. And then when I was doing that, I'm like, wait a minute. There's one where it's Goofy. It's where Flossie comes from. So I'm like, I'm going to be on the I literally was like, I want to watch this. I'm going to get to the moment where they say Flossie, and I'm going to fucking screenshot it, right? I'm going to send you the clip.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to the point, and I'm like, it was right around here, right? And then I get to the point, and it's from 1938. It's called Mickey's Trailer, and it's Mickey, Donald, and Goofy in a trailer going like up a mountain. And I'm like, right. It's right here. But it's like 1938 microphone, so it's kind of obscured what it says. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not good. They're going to rip that apart. So I'm like, wait a minute. I'll turn on subtitles. So I scroll back. And he's like, come here, Flossie. And I'm like, yup. And I'm like, got it. So I turn it on. I scroll back. I have the subtitles on. He says, come here, Bossy. He doesn't say Flossie. He says Bossy.
Whoa.
But now, I've only seen it on VHS tape as a kid that my mom recorded off of the TV.
This is a revelation. So how do you feel about this, knowing that it was never Flossie?
Well, I genuinely don't know what to think. I have been calling
for you,
cows
I know exactly
Flossie
what to think
for 20 years or more. I'd be like,
It's
come
been
here,
your go-to
Flossie.
cow name.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Or you see cows on the side of the road and you go, oh, cows. I'm like, hi, Flossie. Nope. It's been Bossy. Also, Bossy's a terrible name for a cow.
You know what, though? It's better than Flossie.
Shut up. I'm not doing the reverse. I'm not doing that.
You don't want to run it back, double or nothing?
Well, I'm going to send you 2 toy cars or you're going to send me 2 Rubik's Cubes?
Well, no, it's double or nothing. You know, either you send me the 2 toy cars or we're even.
Fine. I'll send
no,
you 2.
We don't. No.
We're doing it now.
I don't want to make my friend destitute.
No, I'm not going to be destitute. No, I'm going to send you 2 toy cars if the official cow naming judge says that Bossy. I say Bossy's worse than Flossie. You say Bossy's better than Flossie.
Yeah.
Fine, double or nothing.
Okay, so the judgment is which one is better, Flossie or Bossy. It's not whether or not Bossy is a good name.
No, it's which of the names is better.
Okay.
Yeah, because we both agree that Bossy is a bad name for a cow?
I would say at best it's okay.
Yeah. So
okay, handshake, virtual handshake. We're set.
Virtual handshake. Yep.
We're set. All right. Real quick, while we're talking about farm animals, over the weekend I was at my sister and brother-in-law's, and we're talking about movies, and I was telling them about this pod that we're doing, and Chicken Run came up, and my brother-in-law was telling me all about how my nephew, who he's all into, like, he is a villain kid. He loves his favorite characters are like Ursula and Cruella de Vil.
Okay.
And he loves creepy villains. He loves just stuff like that in
Weird
general.
flex, but okay, sure.
He loves off-putting things. But he hates Chicken Runs. It freaks him out. He is afraid of Chicken Run.
Now, what did they get into? Why?
No, he just doesn't like it. I think it freaks him out. The claymation just must freak him out.
Yeah, it is a little unnerving.
It is, but I just felt like I had to bring that up I feel like it adds a bit more weight to your side of the it's not a great movie, especially kids movie. So
no, yeah, I figured
I'd bring that up. Yeah. But speaking of chickens and poultry, CJ, I understand you have a story to tell.
So there's a chain of grocery stores up here called ShopRite. Okay. ShopRite, ShopRite, if you're in the Northeast. And ShopRite had a thing where if you spend X amount of dollars, you get X amount of rewards points. If you do that before this week, one particular weekend on the calendar, you can get a free ham or a free turkey for Easter, just something that people celebrate. And I was like, okay, so I went in and we've been using the same report. Me and my mom have been using the same rewards card number so that we could boost a little bit, so that we could get the free turkey or the free ham. And it was like, you can get a whole turkey, you can get a whole honey ham, like spiral ham, you can get a ham shank, or you can get a turkey breast. And I was like, okay, so in order of priority, get the spiral ham, then get the ham shank, then get the turkey, then get the turkey breast. Okay? She's like, I'm on it. So I pull up, I'm waiting for her to I just dropped her off at the grocery store. I went around, did my thing, came back, and she comes out with a little bitty bag. And inside the little bitty bag is a turkey breast. And I said, why? I thought we said this was the last thing that we wanted. She goes, because she can't eat meat. So it's just going to be me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not that I'm going to eat a whole spiral ham, but like I have a preference here. None of the food would ever go to waste. I mean, we'll just give it away. But I was like, what are we doing with the little turkey breast? I don't like turkey. She's like, well, the other things were ridiculous. I'm like, it's free. Who cares if it's ridiculous? It's free. It was a free spiral ham. She goes, yeah, but it was too big. I'm like, who cares how big it is? it's free. She goes, no. I said, what about the ham shank? Which is just basically like the turkey breast, but just a smack of ham, right? And then she was like, it was too big. I'm like, and the turkey? She goes, it was too big. So I'm like, what'd you get? She pulls out this little turkey breast. She goes, it's a pound. I'm like, we could have just gone to the deli and gotten a pound of turkey. It wasn't a pound. It was tiny, but it wasn't a pound.
Then it wouldn't have been free.
I'm like, yeah, but all of the free stuff that we could have had. So I'm like, whatever. I don't like turkey. We didn't end up having it for Easter. We put it in the freezer. We didn't end up having it the next week. She's like, we're going to make it. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I think it was the day that we recorded the podcast, the Tombstone episode. She's like, we're going to eat the turkey. And I'm like, okay. So she makes it. Took as long as a regular turkey, by the way. Didn't go quick. So then finally turkey comes out. I don't like turkey. She's like, okay. She cuts off a little tiny piece for herself because she can't eat meat. And she's like, this is for you. I'm like, you want me to eat this whole fucking thing? She's like, yeah, I can't eat it. I'm like, I don't like turkey. So I'm like, well, I'm not letting this food go to waste. So I start eating it. And then there's like 2 pieces left. And she's like, come on, eat it. Otherwise it's going to go to waste. I'm like, fine. Eat it. Put my plate in the sink. Come down. I swear my stomach was like, what did you feed me? What did you feed me? What the fuck is this? Turkey? Is it November? Motherfucker? It's not November, and we only eat turkey once a year. So what in the fuck are you doing? And my body revolted. I was dealing with an uprising. So much so, we had to take a break in the middle of that episode, which we edited out, obviously. We had to take a break because my body was like, nope, no. I don't know why the fuck you ate turkey. Who told you to eat turkey?
So what I'm hearing is that long break in the middle of watching Tombstone was for you to expel all the tryptophan from your body.
Listen, I wish that shit made me sleepy because I was wide awake all night.
Oh no, you were fighting for your life.
I was fighting for my life. Shoes off. Socks on, but shoes off.
No. Were you gripping the floor with your toes?
Oh yeah, I was dieharding. I was making fists with my toes on the carpet.
No. Well, how are you doing now? It's been a
couple days.
Is your body fully recovered?
Yes, from the turkey, but no, because I had a giant piece of bacon on a stick at Yankee Stadium, and that has taken a few days.
Okay, fair enough. How much did that run you? $35?
4 hot dogs. I got 2 for me and 2 for my brother, and the bacon on a stick cost $44.
Jesus.
Yeah. But
man, ball games are so expensive nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, we got a good deal on the seats. Like, we had an April Fool's Day deal, which was like $40 a ticket. So technically, I spent less on the ticket than my brother did on the hot dogs. But, you know, it's not too bad.
Very nice.
If you go into it knowing that you're going to deal with it, you know?
Now, CJ, you went to this ball game on this past Monday, right?
Yes.
Which, again, as we do often on this show, immediately date when we're recording this. That was the date of the solar eclipse here in the U.S. Did you get a chance to see it from where you were?
Absolutely not. We got to the train station, and it was 2 o'clock. And the time of visibility would have been like 2:20, 2:30. And so we got on the train. We were one of the very few people on the train. Now, it did get dark, but we were on the train. So we couldn't see anything. It just looked like you were looking out the window through tint. And by the time that we got where we were going, it was overcast. I mean, that was really the big letdown, was everywhere you were, it was overcast.
Gotcha.
So we didn't get to see anything. I did bring the glasses with us. How about this for a scam? These things on them say that they expire in 3 years. You know when the next freaking eclipse is? 4 years from now.
In the continental United States?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 20 years from now, like
Well,
2044.
the next eclipse anywhere in the world is in 4 years. And let me tell you something,
Okay.
Jack. That's a ripoff. Why do they expire?
Well, it's probably because of the material breakdown. Talking about it from a material science standpoint, it's probably from that, and it's not safe to use after that point.
No. That's a marketing. That's a marketing expiration.
All right, sure.
How about I bought a jar one time of salt that was like 3,000 years old salt, right? Guess when it expired?
2 months from now.
Yeah. It lived for thousands of years.
So I feel like a lot of it is like legal, what's the word? Protecting themselves legally. It's the same thing as Q-tips. You know why Q-tip packaging says not for use in the ear, do not stick in your ear? It's just so you can't sue them if you injure yourself.
Yeah, but I'm saying the salt that has existed since the dawn of time is going to expire tomorrow.
Yep.
Anyway. All right, so we're here to talk about Tombstone, folks.
Actually, no. First, we're here to talk about my Eclipse experience.
Hang on,
CJ.
sorry.
Get it right.
Sorry.
So,
yes. Were you on a train during the eclipse?
No. Okay. So, I'm not far from the path of totality. It passes through southern Illinois. I'm up near Chicago. So it's, we were getting up to, it's like 96% totality or whatever the word is. So I worked that day and I finished up work. Like I structured my day around like setting aside 30 minutes to sit outside and view the eclipse. It's a total eclipse like this is supposed to be like one of the most impactful and like to many one of the most impactful and spiritual moments of your whole life. This rarely happens. You only see a few of these in your entire lifespan, right? So here in Illinois, where I'm at, the minute or the moment of peak eclipse was like 2:06, 2:07-ish. Okay. So I took my dogs for a short walk around half an hour prior, 20 minutes prior, and I took a break for work. And I'm just sitting on my front porch and I'm waiting for the peak to happen. I have a timer set for like a minute right before the peak is going to happen. So I like know, oh, this is when it's about to reach its moment, because we didn't get the full eclipse. And like, it wouldn't have been too obvious. So I wanted it. I wanted to know exactly when it was going to be. I had my earbuds in. I had picked out some music I've been really into lately, and it just felt like good eclipse music. It was just such an ideal experience. And I'm sitting there, and it's like 2:01, 2:02. We're moments from peak eclipse. And just then, my neighbor Ted comes outside. Now, I have to tell you a little bit about Ted before I continue with the eclipse story.
Okay.
This guy fucking loves talking to me. He's a bit of a dork. He's, I want to say late 60s, early 70s. It's just him and his wife who live next door to us. When I moved in, my roommate and I were unloading the U-Haul and Ted stepped outside to like check the mail or whatever. I was like, oh, hold on, let me go say hi. My roommate had moved in first, so he had gotten a chance to meet Ted and his wife, but I hadn't yet. And they knew I was moving in, so I wanted to go over and say hi. And I figured it would just be like a minute, like go over, say hi, like, introduce myself, establish a basis, get back to moving. I had a 15-minute conversation with this guy, and he talked for the entire 15 minutes straight. Like the first thing I said after talking to him that time to my roommate was, we got to get this guy in front of a fucking microphone because he is so unintentionally funny. He's just a dork to the absolute extreme, and he just goes on wild tangents and the crazy non sequiturs, and he has the most absurd views on things. Not like things where it's like, oh, I'm really questioning, it's not like he like talks about ridiculous things he has views on, like, politically or anything like that, but just stupid things. He'll like say something and state an opinion, and I'm just left there scratching my head. So a good example of this is one time last fall. He does movie nights all the time. He sets up a screen in his and like behind his place, and he watches them with his wife. He invites me a couple times. I have not accepted the invite, though I'd like to at some point this year. Anyway, at one point I'm talking to him. He knows I'm into movies, so he was like, "Yeah, this weekend I watched all 3 Mission Impossible movies."
Oh God!
And he goes on this whole rant about how they're not that good. James Bond is always better. CJ, there's 7 Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to give you an idea of what this type of guy is like. So back to the eclipse. It's like 2:01, 2:02 minutes to eclipse, and I'm just sitting there and I'm having like the best time. I'm ready for this. So he comes outside, and I immediately think to myself, oh no, Ted is about to ruin the eclipse for me. So he walks out with an earbud in. He was on a phone call, and he's wearing just sunglasses. And
like
he
no
pretty
clothes,
much
just sunglasses.
No clothes, just sunglasses.
Okay.
He walks out just wearing sunglasses, not eclipse glasses or anything, and almost immediately looks straight up at the sun before continuing out to his mailbox. And I hear him wrap up the phone call pretty much like right then. And he checks his mailbox, and instead of walking back like up to his place, he walks over like the 20 feet over to my place and walks up to me. I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. And all the while he's walking, it is getting dimmer outside. Like the shadows are starting to get, they're starting to like trail out to the side and whatnot because the light is bending and everything crazy. Like the eclipse is like imminent, and I'm watching, I'm like, oh, we're getting there. But he comes up and he starts talking to me about the eclipse and how it's darker outside. And he's talking about how he was working and how he was like looking out the window, and he's like, oh, it's getting dim out. And he doesn't have the glasses, so like I offer him to look through it, like mine real quick, and he looks like, oh yeah, look at that. He gives them back, and I put him back on. But then he proceeds to go on, and every time, it's not like I'm sitting here asking him questions. I'm like, I'm cutting the conversation. I'm giving him answers. I'm not being rude, but I'm not like
trying to extend the conversation.
Exactly. And he just starts going on and on. He talks about a bunch of random things. He talks about how he saw the eclipse at summer camp in 1963. And then he started to go down this whole tangent about the logistics of the summer camp. He's like, it's a stay away camper. What do they call those? I stayed there for 3 weeks. And he goes into the whole logistics of this summer camp he went to. And then he starts asking me about all the logistics of, they have a dog, and he knows I have my 2 dogs. And he asks me all these logistics about how I walk my dogs around the block and what paths I take and whatnot. And like multiple times, 4 to 5 times, he begins making his way back to his door, back to his place. Every time he would do this, though, he would turn around, start talking to me again, and walk back towards me. And also, every time he started walking towards his door, he would look up at the fucking sun with just his sunglasses on, probably dealing irreparable damage to his eyes. And this went on, and he walked in like right at the peak of when the eclipse was happening. So I did get to experience it, but it was just like, okay, well, it's, I missed out on this entire experience of watching it, arrive to this moment. But I don't know. I just had to share this. It was something.
Man, you got man, that sounds like something that would happen to me. You got NPC'd.
I did. And maybe it's because I'm too nice and didn't be like, all right, Ted, I'm trying to have a moment here. But I don't know. Ted, he has a strange philosophy on life. He's a cancer survivor, so maybe he just likes to live with like the reckless abandon of staring at the sun. I don't know.
Nothing says beat cancer like going blind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like I said, he's a weird dude. But anyway, let's not delay. Tombstone.
Right. My turn, right?
Well, first, we have to talk generally our thoughts. Did you like it?
Oh, I love it. I love that movie.
The one who quoted it the entire time we were watching and quoted
It's
it
just
during
okay.
last episode. It's just okay.
I love that. I love this movie. Probably one of my favorite Westerns, and there's a ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I said this before. I know I said it during, but I know I said it before. I might have said it at the end of the last episode. It is one of the most quotable movies I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Especially a Western. It's one of the most quotable Westerns I've ever seen.
I can definitely see how it's so quotable having seen it now.
Yeah.
Generally, I thought it was really good. I liked it. I'm not sure if it's my favorite Western, but I'm not sure what would be if I had to pick one. But I did like it. I wouldn't say I loved it to the point where I'm like, oh, that's hands down my favorite Western I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I did like it. I did enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. There's a ton of things I love about this movie. I'm going to save them for the in-depth thoughts in the after the recap.
Right. But first, give me that recap, CJ. Remind me what happened in this movie.
All right. So if you've never seen Tombstone and you didn't listen to the companion audio track and you never watched it. So the movie starts and we're clearly at a wedding and there's these thunderous dun 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 like horses charging in.
Now, I hate to jump in and interrupt already, but you are missing one thing.
What?
The movie opens with a vignette.
Oh yes. It opens with the old-timey vignette narrated by Robert Mitchum, who serves as the film's narrator for the beginning and the end. And if you don't know Robert Mitchum, famous actor. I think he definitely has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You might know him from such pictures as he was in this movie. Yeah, so I mean, he's in a ton of movies. He was in El Dorado with John Wayne, Out of the Past with Jane Greer, Thunder Road. I think he was in Thunder Road, and Cape Fear. He was in Cape Fear. Yeah, Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum won. So if you never saw Cape Fear, the 1962 version, he was in that. So anyway, it opens with a vignette. It talks about the history of the Cowboys, which is an organized crime syndicate in the Old West. This would have been, I think, 1879. I don't know, 1880, 1879. So the Cowboys wear these red sashes, and that's how you can tell them apart. So the movie cuts. There's a wedding going on. They're in Mexico, and there are three main cowboys that you meet in this scene. You meet Curly Bill Brocious, who's played by Powers Booth. You meet Johnny Ringo, who's played by, I always say his name wrong, Michael Biehn.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then you meet another one. You meet Michael Rooker's character, who is Sherman McMasters. That's right. I always want to say Bat Masterson. He's definitely not playing Bat Masterson. So it's a local, like, federale / police officer's wedding. There's a bunch of police there. The Cowboys come, they slaughter all of them. They kill them all, except for the bride, the groom, and the priest, in retaliation for killing two of the Cowboys, right? So two of their gang. Then they shoot the man to get on his knees. They kill him, and then they take the woman kicking and screaming into the church and then shoot her off screen. And then they go to eat the food that was left out for the feast when the priest starts coming out speaking Spanish, and they shoot him in the head. Johnny Ringo shoots him in the head. And because he was speaking Spanish, he asked Johnny Ringo, what was that Mexican preacher saying? And he was quoting Revelations, which is the Bible. And I don't remember the line, but it's basically talking about the four horsemen. And it's like, and behold, a pale horse, and the rider on him was death, and hell followed with him. And then it cuts to the train coming in, because that's the opening scene of the movie. Now we're going to meet the train coming in, and it's Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp is played by Kurt Russell, and he's meeting his brothers, Virgil and Morgan, and their wives in Tucson, Arizona, because they are going to ride out to seek fame and fortune in Tombstone, which is sort of a mining camp at the time. So they take the train out of Tucson. They all introduce each other. They all haven't seen each other in a long time. This is like they're retiring from the Law and Order game. Wyatt wants nothing to do with it. He was a famous Dodge City lawman. He got into one scuffle there. He retired. Now he wants to seek fame and fortune and settle down in Tombstone. Then it shows you Doc Holliday, who's played by Val Kilmer, and probably, I think, Val Kilmer's best role. Val Kilmer is a gambler. He's not a lawman. He's not straight-laced. He's kind of like sick and gangly looking. He's playing cards, and Frank Stallone, Sylvester Stallone's brother, accuses him of cheating. So he's like, all right, well, time to blow this burg, steals all the money, stabs the guy in the chest, and then leaves with his lady friend, Kate. So the Earps are going to Tombstone, Val Kilmer's going to Tombstone, and so are the Cowboys are going to Tombstone. So the Earps get into town, they meet Sheriff Behan, and they meet Fred White, the town marshal. Again, he keeps getting accosted like, hey, we need a real lawman. And Wyatt's like, I'm not doing it. They see this place called the Oriental, which is a bar, saloon type place that has gambling. So Wyatt goes in. He goes in and he acquires himself a quarter interest at the Oriental, which is going to be a major set piece throughout the rest of the movie, because he goes in and he slaps around the dealer who is chasing out all the high class play. And I believe that was Johnny Tyler, played by Billy Bob Thornton. And I gotta say, Billy Bob is not like a normal Billy Bob Thornton role. He played the paper wussy on this one. I
did not recognize him at all. It was only like when we were taking that break, you got back and I mentioned that I looked up who he played. And it was only in hindsight, I'm like, oh yeah, that was him. Like, he has Billy Bob's eyes. That's the only reason why I could connect it. Hey, listen, mister, I'm getting real scared. Damn right you're scared. I can see that in your eyes. So then you find out that Wyatt's wife is getting addicted to laudanum. If you don't know what laudanum is, it's an opium powder liquid thing. It's basically like I believe you make laudanum by putting poppy in alcohol. So I think that's how it is. It's basically, it's an opiate, right? It's an opiate and an alcohol thing. Mm-hmm. So now they get their gambling stake. Wyatt and his brothers meet up with Doc Holliday. Doc has tuberculosis and is hoping the drier climate would help his TB. And then they meet two more important characters for later. They meet Texas Jack Vermillion and Turkey Creek Jack Johnson. So you've met most of the important characters at this point. That night, they go to the show. It's like an opera house. The Cowboys are there. The Earps are there. Doc Holliday is there with his girl, Kate. And on stage, there's a theater troupe that had come to town. One of them, I believe, the male lead, we were looking at it. Who was it that played Billy Fabian? Billy Zane. Billy Zane, that's right. So they have Billy Zane, and then the female lead in the whole movie is Dana Delaney, and she plays Josephine Marcus. And Wyatt starts eye-fucking her from his booth next to his wife, which gets awkward. And then later, she's like, hey, come back to the hotel. And he's like, no, I got to go to work. And she's like, fine. And he's like, no, wait a minute. And I think, no, Wyatt, it's fine. Just go. And she's like a terrible partner. I don't know. I mean, she's an addict, and I think that's what the film is trying to get across, right? So the Cowboys... I have more to say on that. We'll talk about that later. The Cowboys go to the Oriental, which is the Earps bar, place of business. And Ike Clanton, who is the town idiot, not town idiot, he is the idiot of the Cowboys. He goes, listen, Law Dog don't go around here. That's right, Law Dog. Law don't go down here. He's like, yeah, I heard you first time. Then the Cowboys win, and then there's a tense scene where Johnny Ringo, who is built up as being the deadliest pistolier since Wild Bill Hickok. Val Kilmer's character says that, which is a great way to characterize that character.
And then Powers Booth's character, Curly Bill Brocious, says, "Be careful, Johnny. I heard he's real fast." And then Johnny Ringo does a routine with his gun where he's flipping it around and showing all the handle that he has on it. And then a drunk Doc Holliday does the same thing, but with his glass, his little cup that he's been drinking out of. And then, that kind of de-escalates the whole scene. Yeah. So tensions are rising. The Cowboys are here. They're not leaving. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. Wyatt is constantly being pressured to become a lawman. And then one night, Curly Bill goes to an opium den, and he comes out and he just starts shooting. He starts shooting at the glass, he starts shooting into the thing, he's howling. And Sheriff Behan is sort of not willing to do anything. He says, "This isn't a county matter," and he's the county sheriff. "This is a town matter," which means Marshal Fred White needs to go out. So Fred White goes out, tries to disarm Curly Bill, and Curly Bill shoots him. Wyatt goes out. He stops the town folk from lynching him. And then you kind of learn the extent of the corruption after he threatens to turn Ike's head into a canoe. And go on! Billy! Right? After that scene happens, turns out that Curly Bill's not going to get prosecuted for murder because nobody saw him shoot Fred White. And if you can't have a murder without a witness. So the Cowboys have corrupted several officials. They obviously have corrupted Judge Spicer, or at least he's afraid of him. And they've also corrupted Sheriff Behan. So Virgil, who's played by Sam Elliott, decides he's going to become the next lawman. And his first order of business is he says, "You can't carry a gun in town." He gets his younger brother, Morgan Earp, to sign up as his deputy. And Wyatt, in aggravation, is like, "This is our chance to get rid of it. We can finally be free. We can be free men." And the other Earps are not into it, so he relinquishes his gun. Then it leads to the showdown at the OK Corral. Now, if you know anything about Western history, this is one of the most famous gunfights in Western history. So the way that it gets into this is that they arrest Ike Clanton for being an asshole, basically, and for carrying a gun in the bar, and for saying that if he sees any of the Earps in the street, he's going to shoot them, after Doc Holliday has a attack from his tuberculosis. So Doc's sick, and the Clanton is like, "Listen, low dog, go around here." All right, so he gets a night in the box. The other Cowboys are getting really pissed off. They're like, "Hey, this is coming to a head." And the mayor comes to the Earps and says, "Hey, listen, they're telling everybody in town they're going to kill you the next time they see you. They're down behind the OK Corral." So that's where they go. Virgil, Wyatt, and Doc and Morgan go down, and they see Ike Clanton, Billy Clanton, and I don't remember the other people that were at the shooting. It's been dramatized, I'm sure. But I think the McClory brothers were there, and I think Billy Claiborne was there. So, this is now the showdown, right? Virgil tries to say, "This isn't what I want. It's fine." Like, whatever. Sheriff Behan tries to arrest them, or tries to stop them. He hides. And then the shooting starts because Doc Holliday winks at Billy Clanton. So Billy Clanton, they open fire. Billy dies. I think the McClory brothers die. I think Billy Claiborne sneaks out the back. Ike Clanton immediately runs up to Wyatt. He's like, "Please, please, please. I have no gun. I ain't got no gun." And he's like, "The fight's started. Either get to fighting or get to running." And then he runs inside. He steals Sheriff Behan's gun. He's trying to shoot everybody from the glass. Doc.
He bursts through the glass.
Yeah.
He throws himself through the glass practically to start shooting out of it.
So Doc starts shooting at the glass, which is where Sheriff Behan and Josephine, who is the love interest of Wyatt. So even though Wyatt's married, there's this scene where Wyatt and Josephine inexplicably meet in the middle of a ranch or middle of the nowhere woods. And then they compare themselves to the horses, and instead of the horses getting separated because they're clearly in heat, they run it out of him. So this is supposed to be like the love interest. Like, even though Wyatt's married, he falls in love with Josephine Marcus, who he meets at the opera. Go ahead.
You almost like completely forgot about this scene. Like, this happened a bit earlier, which it's going to go into a point I have later on. But yeah, this whole romance is going on.
Yeah,
this whole time.
Just it's there. It feels tacked on, especially if you've seen the movie a few times, which is kind of why I forgot it. So then that's settled. Virgil gets shot in the leg. Morgan gets shot in the arm. Doc almost dies. And the one guy's like, well, I'll see you in hell. And Doc goes, well, you're a daisy if you do. And Morgan ends up shooting him. But I think Doc is the one that actually shot him. So there's that, right? As revenge for the shootout at the OK Corral, the Cowboys have decided they're going to get retribution. They ambush the Wyatt brothers and they attack the cottage where the women are. So Josephine goes to warn them because Sheriff Behan basically told her, hey, we're going to get rid of the Earps. So she goes to warn Wyatt's wife and Virgil's wife and Morgan's wife. And then a cowboy goes in and shoots up the place. Virgil gets ambushed outside the Oriental. He gets shot in the arm. And then I think Morgan goes back to the Oriental and he gets shot in the back while he's playing pool. So Virgil loses the use of his arm. Morgan dies. But none of the women are hurt. So Wyatt is now beside himself. Also, that dog wouldn't shut up.
Oh yeah, dog barking.
Someone shut that damn dog up. Get her out of here. So Wyatt is crazy. He says, we're leaving Tombstone to the Cowboys. And he says that to Curly Bill. And sorry, there's one scene that I forgot. After the OK Corral, before they get ambushed, a drunk Johnny Ringo is out in the street. And this is really important. And he goes to challenge the Earps to a fight. And he says, ain't none of you scared to play for blood? And Doc Holliday, who's getting a shave on the porch, goes, I'm your Huckleberry. That's just my game. And so drunk Johnny Ringo is about to shoot sober and not afflicted by TB Doc Holliday. And they show you that he's going to draw from the front. But then the camera cuts to the back and he has his hand on his back, the pistol on his back. So, like, clearly not a fair fight. And Curly Bill and a couple other cowboys stop Johnny Ringo. And they're like, foreshadowing, Curly Bill goes, whew, even I'm worried about what's going to happen to this outfit when Ringo's in charge. So now, back to the present, the Earps are leaving. He says, we're leaving. It's over. You won. Curly Bill goes, well, bye. Johnny Ringo goes, it smells like death. Bill's like, Johnny. They go to the train station. They get on. Ike Clanton and someone else are there to ambush when one of the cowboys gets shot in the back because Wyatt didn't get on the train. He used them as a decoy. Then he cuts Ike Clanton's face with his spur. And he says, you tell all the curs and all the other curs, if I see a red sash, I kill the man wearing it. You tell him hell's coming. You tell him I'm coming. Right? And so now, Wyatt Earp's Vendetta Ride featuring Doc Holliday, Turkey Creek Jack Johnson, who we met earlier in the film, Texas Jack Vermillion, and Sherman McMasters, who quits the Cowboys after they shoot up the women. Which was a line even he didn't want to cross.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had the whole thing was like, I'm done. And he
brothers to the bone, right, McMasters? You call me if you need me. Yep. Mm-hmm. And now Wyatt Earp also is now a U.S. Marshal. So he kills Frank Stillwell. That's who he killed on the platform. Him and Ike Clan. We kill Stillwell. So now they're going on their Vendetta Ride. They go on a killing spree. There's a montage. It's fun. Then they get pinned down by a creek. and they're in a crossfire. And Doc Holliday's starting to cough, and Sherman McMaster's like, you better think of something quick. And that's played by Michael Rooker, by the way. Wyatt Earp goes, no. And starts walking toward the creek during the crossfire. No. And then he walks into the creek. And then Curly Bill's like, son of a bitch. He's mine. And he goes out in the creek. No. And then Curly Bill goes to shoot him. And then in the middle of the creek, Wyatt goes, no, and blows him away with a shotgun, which stops the crossfire and allows them to kill a few more cowboys before they retreat.
This scene is just Kurt Russell shooting up all of these guys, yelling "no!" over in the background the entire time, just no over and over.
Absolutely, so
amazing.
They walk into the creek, kills everyone. Now Johnny Ringo's in charge. He's now the head of the Cowboys. Doc Holliday's health starts to get worse, and so they take him to the Henry Hooker Ranch. And Henry Hooker in this movie is played by Charlton Heston. So they get, they're trying to hold up there, trying to recuperate. Josephine Marcus, who the last time that Wyatt saw her was like, get away from me, when he's like covered in his brother's blood and it's raining only on him. Go away from me. Right now he's like, I'm sorry. She's like, I forgave you the moment you said it. I love you. You'll find me later. You gotta finish business. So she leaves, and then it's a couple days later. They're trying to wait for Doc to get better, and McMasters had been lured out away from the ranch, and he's been killed. And they drag him back on a horse. They use him to send a message that basically Wyatt is to meet Johnny for a showdown over in the Oak Grove, and that he has until 7 a.m. the next morning to do it. So Doc's dying in bed, and he's like, you can't beat him. And Wyatt's like, what makes a man like Ringo tick? And he's like, it's revenge. And he's like, revenge for what? Doc Holliday goes, being born. So then he gets Wyatt to give him the badge, the U.S. Marshal badge. Then that morning, Wyatt and Jack and Texas Jack and Turkey Creek go out, and the Cowboys are there. And he's like, once you hear the shooting start, I ain't giving you no safe conduct. Just head for the Mexico border. So they're going their separate ways. He doesn't think that he's going to come back alive, right? So Johnny Ringo's waiting in the Oak Grove, and he says he hears somebody coming. He goes, well, I didn't think you had it in you. And to his surprise, it's Doc Holliday who says, I'm your Huckleberry. Johnny Ringo says, my fight's not with you, Holliday. And Doc Holliday says, I beg to differ, sir. We started a game we didn't get to finish. Play for blood, remember? Johnny Ringo says, I was just kidding about. Doc Holliday says,
I see the scene playing out in my head.
And then Johnny Ringo, knowing he fucked up, goes, all right, Lunger, let's do it. They go around in a circle, and Doc, who wasn't as sick as he let out, goes, say when. And then Johnny pulls, Doc shoots him with his other pistol that he had under his coat, and then he says, come on, you ain't a daisy. You ain't no daisy at all.
Which is say, he shoots him like in the forehead, but like with an upward angle. So he's not like dead right there. He's kind of stumbling.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. Like he shot him in the part of his brain that did the thinking, not the moving. Mm-hmm. So he falls to the down, and with him on the ground, goes, you ain't no daisy at all. Poor soul. Then Wyatt, Texas Jack, Turkey Creek, and Doc finish the Vendetta ride. They kill every other cowboy except Ike, which is the most frustrating thing in the whole movie. Ike gets away, and then it cuts to... So Doc Holliday kills Ringo. The Cowboys collapse because they lose their leadership, and he literally kills all of them except Ike Clanton. And then it cuts to Doc Holliday actually being really, really sick in his deathbed. Wyatt comes to visit him every day. They play cards, and Doc says, if you've ever had anything of a feeling for me, please leave. Like, just stop. Go after that woman that you love and stop coming here. And so he does. Doc dies with his boots off and he laughs. Wyatt made a book like My Friend Doc Holliday. And then it cuts to the Rockies where Wyatt basically is like, I love you. I have no money and I don't know how we're going to make a living, but I want to spend the rest of my life with you. To which the love of his life, Josephine Marcus, not his wife, says, oh, but don't worry, my family's rich. And then they went out in the snow and they danced. And that seems like a weird end to the movie. That's how the movie ends.
There is a while the credits roll or
there's
whatever
another
right
vignette.
in the moment. Yeah, they have one of the they have narration be like, so and so went on to do this, so and so went on to do this,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Through thick and thin, flush or fat, they never left
Yeah.
each other's side. At Wyatt Earp's funeral in 1917, there were such aspiring young Western actors such as so-and-so and so-and-so. So-and-so wept. And that's Robert Mitchum. So there you go. That might have been Robert Mitchum's last role. I don't know when Robert Mitchum died. He died in 97. That might have been Charlton Heston's last role. Charlton Heston died. Nope, Charlton Heston died in 2008. I'm an idiot. Okay. So there you go.
Well,
that is, I gotta say, I think I did pretty good there.
I'd say you did pretty good. Especially some of the scenes when you're going back and forth with the lines, I was watching that in my mind's eye.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, now that it's being recapped, CJ, do you have anything specifically you'd like to call out about this movie?
Anything specifically? You know, I do say to this moment, like, it is the most quotable Western I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not close. It's also one of the most, I think it's hard to say. There's a lot about this movie that are hard, right? It's because there's so much in the making of it that is interesting. Like how they didn't really have a director. There's a lot of rumors that Kurt Russell directed this. I think some people have basically shut that down. That he didn't really do it. But go ahead.
I did a little bit of reading. So it was the screenwrite. He was going to direct this, and it was his directorial debut, but it proved to be too much of a task for him. So then he dropped out of the role.
And then they got George P. Cosmatos.
Right.
Yeah.
And as the story goes, he was a real hard-nosed director, led to some conflict with the cinematographer, William Fraker.
Yeah.
And then all the stuff you were talking about, Kurt Russell allegedly helping direct.
I think that part of it too is it's not just like, oh, they got another director. They got a director halfway through the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's hard to overcome, but it doesn't feel like that kind of a movie.
No.
You know what I mean? It feels like a complete film. And I will say, this is one of those weird times where Hollywood has two movies that are basically the same coming out at the same time.
Right.
Wyatt Earp, which was the Kevin Costner version, came out in 94. So this movie came out in Christmas of 93, and the Kevin Costner version came out in June of 94. And I think that the Kevin Costner version is a flop.
Yeah, I told my grandma, I talk with my grandma on the phone regularly, and I told her that I watched Tombstone. And she went on about, I was like, oh yeah, there was that one and then another one that came out right at the same time. She was like, I think Kevin Costner was in it. Honestly, not very good.
Yeah. Like, I think, and here's the thing. There's a lot of really talented actors in the other one, right? But it also is more of a, it's more of a, telling of his whole life, you know? It's not a telling of Tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's interesting how that works out because they do touch on it, but it's not the point of the movie. That movie's also, I believe, 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page.
I think it's like over 3 hours.
It's described as an epic. Oh, 190 minutes. Jesus Christ. As Kevin Costner and Dennis Quaid. Oh Lord,
And Gene
those
Hackman.
are the two. Kevin Costner and Dennis Quaid. I always get confused.
It has, yeah, that's funny. It also has Mark Harmon from NCIS and Michael Madsen
Classic.
and Bill Pullman, not Bill Paxton, Bill Pullman, because the other one has Bill Paxton. And it has the mom from Home Alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
No clue who she is.
Catherine O'Hara. But
no way. Freaking Bebes from Schitt's Creek. Nice.
yeah, also from Beetlejuice and
I haven't seen Beetlejuice.
okay.
Saw that as a child. I did not remember at most of it.
All right. Well, anyway,
I would think Beetlejuice would be too scary for you, CJ.
it is.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop me from, have seen it. It was scary. But yeah, no, I think honestly, Val Kilmer's portrayal as Doc Holliday is one of my favorite performances ever. And I never see Val Kilmer when I see that. I always see Doc Holliday.
Yeah, let's talk about him real quick and just performances in general. Him and Michael Biehn, they stole every goddamn scene they're in. Holy shit.
Yes. The way that characters interact with each other on screen makes this movie so much better because it's all so powerful. They just work so well together.
Mm-hmm. Right after the movie, I think I was talking with Jade and I'm like, I'm about to make Doc Holliday my entire personality for a week. Like,
well,
just
screw you, because I've been doing it for years.
It's just like the both of them, like very magnetic performances. I love characters with interesting worldviews, and they're kind of near the end painted as two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
In your recap, Doc Holliday says like it's revenge for being born or whatever, and in that moment that's how Doc Holliday, his outlook on life as well.
Yeah.
And just they capture it so well. They're just like I said, magnetic. Your eyes are drawn to them every scene. They're very interestingly written, which gets to a point that I'll touch on later. Like the real strength of this movie is the characters and their interactions. Like every conversation is just riveting in a way. And these two just really pull their weights. Like when sharing the screen with other huge name actors as well, they just stand out in every scene. They're so damn good in this movie.
Yeah, like you could throw a rock and hit an actor who could have starred in their own movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's so much leading talent in this film. I mean, it's just crazy,
Yeah.
There's so much leading talent in that movie, and they stand out over everybody.
Yeah. And when I think about the movie, I think about the scenes with them in it. I think about that. First off, I think about the scene, like the end scene, the I'm Your Huckleberry, the showdown. I think about their standoff in the saloon with the cup and whatnot when he's spinning it on his fingers. I think about the scene you were talking about where he's getting a shave, and the first time we hear "I'm Your Huckleberry," I think about the scene when the Earps are leaving town, and Ringo's sitting there, like smells like someone died or whatever he says.
Yeah.
When I think about this movie, I don't think about any of the scenes where it's just Kurt Russell or the Earps. I think about pretty much my mind immediately goes to any scene with Ringo or Doc Holliday in it. It's like they are the characters in this movie who are, they're the most interesting. They're the most interesting and most well performed, and I think the best written. Just, man, I would watch a supercut on YouTube of just their scenes in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I have. It's pretty good. It's not a bad way to live. No, it's everything that you said and more, and like it really changes the stakes. I think I think Wyatt Earp is an interesting historical character. I think that I don't know that any one portrayal of him has gotten him perfect from a historical sense. I think that some performances have gotten close, and I think that different aspects of Kevin Costner's portrayal is maybe closer to the man that he was, like in totality.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what is characterized about Wyatt in the movie is not the things that he says or even the things that he does. It's just like quiet, like his clothes. No one ever says a thing about his clothes. He's dressed like a Quaker in the middle of the desert, right? Like that says a lot about him without saying anything at all, right? It's a character point about him. And I think that Westerns for a long time thrived in their ability to be black and white. And I think that there's more nuance in some Westerns than is given credit for. Although in general, when we say good and bad, it's the cowboys are the good guys and the natives are the bad guys, right? Even if it's not the natives, it's not like they look upon other races with reverence, right? It's they look down at the other races and it's a negative, but like it's overwhelmingly good versus overwhelmingly evil. And I think the thing that I like or appreciate a lot about the story of Tombstone is the cowboys are pretty bad. It's inarguable that they're bad.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Ringo shot a priest in the head. They took that young woman into the church, and thank God they dubbed in the shot, because otherwise it would have been real dark what happened to her.
See, you say that. I feel like the dubbing in of the gunshot it makes it almost even darker.
Well,
because there's an implication with them carrying it away. There's carrying her away. There's another implication to just a gunshot. There's an implication to them carrying her away to privacy. And then I don't know. We won't get into the whole debate of that. But
the darkest thing that could have possibly been done was showing them close the door and then not firing the gun. That's the worst thing that you could have possibly done. Right. So shooting a woman off screen is still bad. Right. There's reasons you can't do that in film, and we shouldn't pretend that there's not other factors at play. But yeah, like they're despicable. But Wyatt's in it for the money. Like, and maybe he's entitled to that piece or not. Right. But his moral compass wasn't pointed towards what's right and what's wrong. His moral compass was pointed towards vengeance, to a reckoning, towards like he's like a cleansing force and not so much justice, just like you went too far, right? Mm-hmm. I am what happens when the pendulum swings backwards, right? You have pushed this as far as it'll go, and I am the force of gravity acting upon you. I am inescapable, right?
Right.
So, like, that, to me, is one of the more interesting aspects of it, because it's just like, does it portray him as the absolute good guy? No, it doesn't. I mean, he cheats on his wife. See,
okay. This is a big topic that I wanted to bring up, and I was planning to bring this up more closer to the end of the discussion. I have a bullet point here that just says, is Wyatt Earp a good guy?
Okay.
Because I think what you're saying, a lot of it, like, I 100% agree with. Like, he is less good guy, more a reckoning, like the Revelations thing that Ringo quotes. He is a reckoning come to Earth with hell following, but it's a reckoning just for the cowboys. I'm not sure to me, the movie, like, yeah, okay. I have bullet points here. The first thing I want to talk about is the whole emotion, the whole affair with Josephine, right? And like, straight up, he's eye fucking her in front of his wife. You know, yes, his wife is an addict. That doesn't mean he shouldn't fucking cheat on her. Like they're sitting there in the theater and Josephine comes out and fucking Wyatt Earp's practically what happens is his jaw falls on the table, his tongue rolls out, his eyes awooga out, and he's hitting himself on the head with a hammer, like right in front of his wife, right?
Yeah.
And then outside, like in your recap, you mentioned how Josephine or like he's like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, and his wife Maddie, she's like, oh no, don't do that, come back with me, and he's like, no, and she's like, whatever, you know, like she's upset, rightfully so, because her husband was just fucking another woman in front of the entire, like their entire friend group, you know. And all through this movie they have like he has an emotional affair with Josephine, and you know, not a great look. And the movie, though, it never feels like it paints it as a love story. It paints it as Wyatt Earp. It has an addict, good for nothing, layabout wife, and this Josephine is, you know, she has the same worldview as him. They want to go around living on room service, and he broaches this idea. You know, Josephine kind of unlocks this desire in him that he didn't realize he had, this desire to, you know, roam and live on room service, literally. And he broaches this idea to Maddie, and she laughs at him like, oh, like that's silly or whatever she says. And it, you know, it feels like the movie is framing it as like, see, they're not meant to be, but I'm sorry. I don't agree. Like, come on, he was fucking cheating on his wife, emotional affair the whole time. Then Wyatt Earp rolls into town, and like you said, it's not like he rolls in and helps out. The first thing he helps out with is the first thing in town he helps out with, because there is something earlier I want to talk about later. It's not like he's helping out this town and getting Billy Bob Thornton out of this, what's the name of the saloon?
The Oriental.
The Oriental. It's not like he kicks out Billy Bob Thornton out of the goodness, virtuousness of his heart. He does it so he can get a stake in all of the hands play there. He does it out of money. He's pointed. His compass is just pointed. He wants to make money, and then later on they get like a profit and share of the mining town, you know. Yeah. And again, it play. I'll talk about it now. The characters are really well written, I felt like, and it establishes them and their dynamics quickly. And like with Ringo, he's quickly establishes, like, you know, the dangerous one of the cowboys, the one who will cross that line by being willing to kill the priest. And with Wyatt especially, and I brought this up while we were watching the movie, the term "save the cat." This is a term in screenwriting for I believe it's a book called Save the Cat, and it's pretty much it's not like a hand guide on how to write a screenplay, but it's like, hey, here are all the beats that you should look for. And like, it's the title of the book is taken from early on in your story, you should have your main character save a cat or some other thing that endears us to their good qualities, you know. It shows that they are someone who we should be cheering for. And in this, Wyatt Earp gets off the train in Tucson, and like they're going to get a horse or whatever, and a dude is like hitting a horse with a rope. And immediately Wyatt takes the rope and he hits the dude with it and goes, yeah, it doesn't feel too good, huh? And, you know, that was his saving the cat moment. That was him as being established as a character we can pull for. But not much other than that shows to me a virtuous side of him. They arrive to Tombstone, and he does the whole thing with Billy Bob Thornton, throws him out. And I guess that going with the horse thing, it establishes that his whole deal is like kind of bullying and intimidating and, like, you know, using psychology to get his, you know, wedge his way into things as opposed to straight up fighting or straight up using guns. Okay. Which I think was really interesting. I think that it's I feel like the movie early on, it seems to establish, like, he's like, I don't use guns or whatever. He doesn't like him, whatever he says. You probably know the quote off the top of your head. And to me, it felt like that was kind of setting up some sort of internal conflict with him, not liking guns or not wanting to use them. But no, it's just he will use them if he needs to. As something I'll talk about later, he was very willing to use them.
Yeah, he was. I think there was supposed to be evidence of an internal struggle because he has that whole thing with Morg where he's like, trust me, son, you don't want to know how that feels. All that time I was a lawman. I only got involved in one scrape, and and a man lost his life, and I took it. And believe me, son, you don't want to know how that feels, right? So there is conflict there.
Yes,
that he doesn't want to.
Yeah, it's like it walks the walk, but it doesn't talk the talk because he's really willing to use guns early on. Like they're in the Oriental, he's sitting at the chair or whatever. And Doc, I think it's during the whole cup flipping scene.
Yeah.
We're shown
Latin,
we're shown he has a gun under the table that he's just pointing at Ringo the entire time, And this is like, even before he has that conversation with Morgan about, like you don't want to kill or whatnot. And he's talked about how he's he doesn't like using guns, but he's ready to use one then. Then later on, like he threatens to kill a guy and someone's like, oh, he ain't lying. I think it was like Ike at one point. He was like, had him held it.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
Your friends might get me in a rush, but not before I turn your head into a canoe. Now tell him to get back. Go on, get back.
He ain't lying.
Get back.
Yeah, the AD arson you were talking about. I feel like, first side note, Ike is held at gunpoint so many times in this movie, but
it's hilarious.
It's like then halfway through the movie that the showdown at the OK Corral starts, and then the reckoning and vengeance and everything begins. And it's just like I feel like it wanted to lay out there is this conflict, but he never acts like, we don't see in his actions that there is any sort of conflict there. But anyway, getting back to my original point, it's established early on that he bullies and intimidates his way. Like that's his preferred method of dealing with people. And he does it strictly for personal gain. Initially is like he does it to get the stake in the Oriental. Does it at one point real estate. He's like, oh, we're in the real estate business now. And it's one of those things where I feel like if you look at his individual actions, he's not really a good guy. It's just a man who's been wronged by these guys, by them attack. He's trying to be indifferent, ambivalent the whole time, and he uses the means of their society, like the martial system and whatnot, to justify and legally act out his revenge and carry out the law. But that's not his motivation at all. He's strictly self-motivated. And I think that there's a very serious argument here, despite how the movie tries to frame him, that Wyatt Earp isn't a good guy. He's just a guy out for personal gain who is wronged.
I can understand your argument. I think that I don't like saying good guy, bad guy. Like it gets like, It
is a bit reductive. It's pretty reductive.
Let the first one among us without sin cast the first stone.
Okay.
It's like,
give me the rock.
Pass me the rock. No, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's like it's almost like. You said reductive. I'm saying it's almost like, did anyone try to tell us that he was a good guy? Like, I feel like it's meant to be left up to you. Because even at the end, when they're talking by the creek, seen that? I ain't even heard anything like that, right? And they're talking by the creek. And Doc explains, it's not vengeance he's after, it's a reckoning, right? He's not doing this because you killed his brother. He did this. He's doing this because you got it coming. Right. And that's not virtuous or anything. So I'm careful to ascribe the good bad to him. I think he just is, like many of us are. I think he just is. Like he just is Wyatt Earp. And maybe his portrayal is supposed to dispel what we think about the lawman, the virtuous lawman, the Hollywood stereotype, the John Wayne type. Maybe he's supposed to be not that, you know, because his brother would be considered a better guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
both of them,
yeah, they thought they did what they thought was right. They were
in it for virtuous reasons.
Yeah, they signed up and put their lives on the line because they thought they were doing what they believed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Wyatt did it because he didn't want his brothers to die, right?
So I really agree with you. You know, I really agree that, you know, it could be a sort of deconstruction on this Western hero idea. But the one thing that I keep coming back to that to me just completely pops a hole in that entire thing is the fact that his romance with Josephine is painted in such a positive light. They get their happy ever after ending, and it's like, you know, good thing I'm rich, you know. They get their happy ending. And it's painted in a very saccharine way, which to me then I do think that it's like up for debate throughout most of the movie, but to me then that at the end just kind of, that's the weight that tips the scales in the end. That's like, no, he's a good guy. He got his happy ending. He served, he completed the reckoning. He got justice for his brother. Mm-hmm. He is a character that we as the general audience should look up to because he did the right thing in killing the cowboys.
Hey, listen, there's a million different ways you can argue this point, and I think that many of them are valid, you know, and especially when we're talking about his character. But yeah, overall, I think it's a testament to the whole film, right? That we can have this argument, and it kind of feels like we can go either way with it. I feel like that's a strength of it, not a weakness of it.
No, I totally agree. I recently, my partner and I, we saw a movie and we talked about it. It was neither of our favorite movies. We thought it, like, we really enjoyed it. We talked about it for like 2-3 days afterwards. Like, it was almost the sole thing that we talked about was this one movie. Who knows? Maybe I might recommend it later. But
no. Oh no, you're gonna recommend a movie you saw recently.
So no, I totally agree with you. I think that, you know, good media, you know, leads to discussion. That being said, like I said, I think the real strength of this movie is in its characters and their character interactions. I think that the movie definitely has a bit too much fat on it as a whole. This movie's like 2 hours, 10 minutes with credits. I think the credits start rolling like at 2 hours and 1 minute.
You're going to say a movie that's a little under 2 hours is a little too fat for your taste?
No, it's not that, because, you know, I love me long movies, but I feel like this movie has a bit too much fat on it as a whole. You can cut out, going back to the romance thing, I have an entire bullet point for this that I wanted to bring up. What was the point of the romance subplot? What point did it serve?
Because you can't make a movie in the 90s without there being a romantic subplot.
And that does not justify it as being a good part of the movie.
No, it doesn't,
you know?
but that's why it's there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know, that's what you need to have. That's what the studios mandate. But, you know, I think the movie is better if you remove the whole romance subplot. I think that you cut out probably like 10 minutes then, you know, because you'll cut out that scene. We were talking about it during it, the whole scene where they meet up in the middle of the foothills, you know, and they run their horses and then they have a fucking picnic. And it to me, it didn't do much. It didn't serve much to our characters. It didn't progress, you know, our understanding for them as characters or the way they think about things. If anything, it just serves a means to an end for, you know, to try and stay close to the historical account to this, which I bet a million ways this movie is inaccurate. Why don't you just change that for the better of the movie? You know, like, of course we know the reasons, but I think this movie's better off without that. I think that it would just be slightly better paced, but the pacing is another thing I wanted to talk about. The pacing was a bit weird in the second half for me.
Okay.
Because, you know, the showdown at the OK Corral happens, and while we were watching it, I feel like there was one point where I was like, man, we're like just over halfway. What the hell is going to happen? And then like the entire back half is pretty much the reckoning. You know, there's the showdown at the OK Corral. Then there's a montage of them killing cowboys. And then there's Doc's condition. Or then there's like at the end of the montage, they have that creek scene. And then Doc's condition worsens and they drop him off. Then you have like the climactic scene between Ringo and Doc. And then there's another montage of them killing cowboys and Ike renouncing his cowboy sash. And then there's the very end of Doc's farewell and then Wyatt and Josephine getting together. And it was just, I don't know. I think another thing, this could be just the action in general. I didn't feel like the action was the strongest. And I think this might just be a Western issue for me. A lot of Western action, it just comes down to, we stand in a line and we shoot at each other. And it's just shots back and forth, like camera shots of them back and forth, shooting at each other and diving around. And there's not much choreography going on. And I just personally wish the action in this movie there was a bit more choreography and it was a bit more connected than just flashes of shooting random guys. There were great action moments, don't get me wrong, you know, but and great moments of tension, but just in general, the action didn't necessarily do it for me. But it was just like the back half was montage of killing the cowboys, you know, a little bit of plot. And then I think the big thing for me is the montage after Ringo and Doc have their showdown. It feels very, it's like, oh, we did it. We killed him. All right, back to killing the rest of the cowboys. Yeehaw! Just like it's tonal whiplash to me. It feels like there should be like that's the climax, the Ringo and Doc scene. It just felt weird having the part of the falling action be another montage that I think you even had mentioned that a lot of that second montage was filmed for the first montage as well.
Yeah.
It felt weird, you know. It felt like that shouldn't have been there. It felt like that should have been our peak. That's when emotions were at the highest, and then we should have wrapped up after that. That would have transitioned nicely into Doc and Wyatt's goodbye scene, and then the unnecessary Wyatt and Josephine part at the end. Yeah,
I mean, you're not wrong. You know, I think everything that you said is right. The action is. I don't know what kind of action you think you want in a Western movie, but most of it is the tension of the gun not going off.
I see, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's too much foreplay, too little action in Westerns for me. But like, I don't know. I think we spoke briefly about 3:10 to Yuma because I talked about during the movie. I'm like, I love the tension. I love the tension buildup. You know, that's something I love about Westerns is like. When because Westerns are, they're very bottled, it's like we are in this town, we are in this saloon, we are all confined together. And I love it's like you can feel the tension being tightened and the strings tightening. And because everyone's in close vicinity and you're like, like 3:10 to Yuma is the example I brought up. I love how you're like, they're sitting in the hotel room. It's like, we need to get you on the 3:10 train. And it's the two of them sitting in the hotel room and everyone in the town is staring up to this window. They know what their plan is. And it's just, what's it's just inevitable.
Yeah.
And I love that tension and build up. But in 3:10 to Yuma, to me, is one where that tension is followed up by a great climax where it's not over in a second. And yeah, I know that that's how these things went, but it's not very cinematic most of the times. Like the showdown at the end between Doc and Ringo, I have no complaints there. Like, yeah, that was over in an instant. But I have no complaints with that. That felt fitting for the scene. It was just one-on-one. I'm not going to have them be like, I want them diving behind trees and calling out to each other, I'm going to kill you, Ringo. I don't want that. That doesn't work for the scene. It's a very personal moment. But I think, just for me, like the action is just like he on his horse bursts. I love this scene in the moment. him bursting through a window
glass.
on his horse and just stomping the shit out of a dude with his horse. I'm like, this is incredible. But it's a lot of just that, and then cut to them riding on horseback, shooting at dudes, and then cut to them killing another dude, and then cut to more just shooting on horseback. It didn't do much for me.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I mean, there are Westerns that I can think of where they have a big thing at the end, right? The big schmaz. But, I think that there's because you have it, it's just broken up, So, yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to add about the movie? I know we've been going for a little bit, but
I have a few more things I want to talk about if
Go
that's
ahead.
all right with you.
Sure.
I talked about this during the movie as well. I really appreciated, and something I really liked about this movie is that there is family drama in it. There's drama not just from the plot, but from, there's some subplots going on that add a lot. And I mentioned during that I love movies that are more than just, a genre film. And the example I brought up was Hereditary. Hereditary is one of my all-time favorite movies, top 5 movies for me. And it's an incredible horror movie, incredible horror film, but it's not just that. It's a family drama at the heart of it. There's, the horror is derided from the drama from the family. It's about more than just being there for a scare. And this movie, especially the tension amongst the Earps, did a lot for me. It felt like, there's more going on than just, we're here to be the lawmen and there's the cowboys. We're at an impasse, It felt like there was more meat on the bone with that, which I really liked.
Yeah, I get behind that. I like that.
Another thing I wanted to bring up was the cinematography. Now, not the whole, I wouldn't sit down and say, this is a movie. This is a beautiful movie. Like, Dune recently came out, and those movies are like every freaking frame of those movies are like, they could be a painting, the cinematography is unmatched.
Mm-hmm.
And there were moments in this where I really dug the cinematography. Specifically, there were some moments where they're like riding with the sunset behind them. I thought those shots were beautiful. It really just any wides where they were out in nature and them either conversing or just roaming on horseback. I thought were really beautiful. The one that really got me to write this down though was right before Ringo's showdown, when we think it's going to be a showdown with Wyatt, after they got McMaster's, there's a shot from where Ringo is on like the right side of the frame, and the shot is from ground level, and it's kind of panned up a little bit. So, we're kind of looking up at Ringo, and it's a very uneven shot. Ringo's strictly on the right and he's pacing back and forth. And like you'd expect someone to come in from the left and speak to him, but they don't do that. It just stays with him on the right. And I think a dude rides up to him on the right as well and speaks to him there. And it was very unintuitive. It's not the way that I feel like most people would shoot that scene, but it looked terrific. And then the last one that I wanted to mention was when Doc arrives to the fucking grove at the end, and him walking, the silhouette of him walking between those trees before it's revealed that it's Doc and not Wyatt. Man, what a shot! What a shot!
Yeah. No, I love that scene. I love every part of that scene. Obviously, my ability to quote it from memory, I've seen it many times more than I've seen the film. So it's a great scene. I like I said, and Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday is one of my favorite character portrayals of all time. So
so good.
So good.
Speaking of him, okay. So I just want to get this straight. He was acting like he was more sick than he was, right?
Yeah.
Just so that Wyatt would like leave him the badge and he could then go out and, So how did he fake coughing up blood like that? I feel like on demand he could cough up more blood.
I think he has tuberculosis and he can exaggerate how much coughing up blood actually means.
Okay.
Because he had tuberculosis for a long time.
Right.
The real Doc Holliday was a dentist in the Deep South. And when you had TV back then, They told you to go west because the drier climate would help you.
Right.
So
speaking of the real Doc Holliday, I didn't know this was a true story until the showdown at the OK Corral happened.
really?
So you being an expert on this movie
and
the history, I'm dubbing you a history on the expert of this. To what extent is this true? Like, are there any like glaring deviations from the true story, or things that are like, this isn't what really happened?
So one, it's sort of true. It's like the showdown at the OK Corral. That's true. The Wyatt, Morgan, and Virgil and Doc Holliday versus Ike and Billy Clan, the McLaury brothers, and Billy Claiborne. 100% true. Wyatt Earp had more brothers than just Doc and just Verge and Morgan. I don't know if they were there or not. I'm trying to scan through. So I believe that in Tombstone, I have the hiccups, excuse me. I believe in Tombstone that, I don't know if they ever say it out loud, I believe that it's supposed to be that Maddie is his common law wife, which basically just means you live together long enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
You never like did vows or whatever. I also think that he did stay with Josephine Marcus the rest of his life. I know that the characters are true. Like the people in the story are true. Like Johnny Ringo was a real person.
Mm-hmm.
I believe. I believe that the people were real. I know that Turkey Creek Johnson, Sherman McMaster, those are real people. But Wyatt Earp said two other brothers, Warren and James, who were also on the ride with them, right?
Okay.
Johnny, Sheriff Behan was a real person. Frank Stilwell was a real person. Ike Clanton and Billy Clanton were real people. And then Curly Bill Brocious was also a real person. So these are all real people, you know. According to the actual wiki page of the Vendetta ride, the Earps killed 4 people.
Okay, so much less than the dozens the movie makes out to be.
Yeah, they issued arrest warrants for interesting. According to this, this was not exactly a law enforced sanctioned thing. Arrest warrants were issued for the Earps, Doc Holliday, and others who leave Arizona as a result.
Man, is Wyatt Earp a good guy take looking better and better.
Yeah. Let's see. Death. Let's see. How did Johnny Ringo actually die? It says he committed suicide.
That's not what happened in the movie.
Maybe they made it look like a suicide. Wyatt Earp claims that. What is Wyatt? Okay, hang on. Now I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt Earp told a historian before his death that he killed Johnny Ringo, and Holliday claims he killed him.
Oh, so this is like a whole.
Yeah.
I'm so and so. No, I'm so and so. I'm blanking on what that's
it's
from.
It's like that
claim.
guy that right before he died said he killed Jimmy Hoffa. And then he died.
Gotcha. Or like how Ted Cruz is the Zodiac killer.
It's not very close at all. No, but you're there. You're getting there.
It seems pretty similar to me.
Yeah. So yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else?
A couple. We're almost there.
All right.
One thing I wanted to call out is the goofiness of this movie.
Okay.
We were talking about it during you loved the humor in the wides. You found a lot of humor in them, maybe from how you've seen the movie so much. Did you want to talk a few of those moments that stick out for you?
Like when Ike is talking shit to the bartender and then he backs up and the wide reveals Virgil standing there angrily. And it's just Sam Elliott sourpuss staring him down. And he beats him in the back of the head. I love that shot.
That was so good.
Yeah. It's just like the humor's always in the wide. If you cut to the wide shot, that's where you get the humor.
And then there's also the one where it was just a wide and Wyatt, like maybe it was Ike, he takes his gun and just beats him with it real quick.
There's the one where the guy comes up to the steps after he's like, I ain't your boy, and I ain't accepting you're sorry. And he's like, blah, 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 you better watch out. And fucking Wyatt beats him in the head.
That was great.
Yeah.
Some things that I found humor in, not necessarily from Wides, but the continuity at times made me laugh. There was one, like, I don't blame them at all. I think it was like they were in the I forget where, but like someone had a fly like land on her finger or something.
Yeah.
And it was gone. We just like laughed about it in the moment. It reminded me a bit of the famous fly from Raiders of the Lost Ark that people claim the dude ate.
Oh.
But some other ones, the one that like really got me in the moment was during that whole creek scene when he starts yelling, "No!" And there's one, you already know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
It cuts from wide, it's just a close of Kurt Russell yelling, "No!" And the setting for this scene, they are in a riverbed. They are in a creek. There are trees everywhere. In the distance, there are mountains and foothills. Like, clearly in the background in every shot. And then it cuts to a close of Kurt Russell yelling no, just blue sky behind him, no trees, no mountains, and it killed me in the moment. It was so jarring. Another one was in the final showdown between Doc and Ringo. Ringo falls on the ground and he's suddenly propped up against a tree. That was very convenient.
Yeah.
It was very, very convenient of him to fall down and prop himself off.
Because he falls down in a
screen.
heap, and then he's like, all right, let me lean up against the tree. Yeah.
So I just wanted to call those out. The last two things are at the very end. First, what happened to all of Wyatt's money? He said he didn't have any at the end. Like, did it all go with Maddie? Did Maddie and the other Earps leave with it? What happened to his money? He said he was broke, but the whole movie he's angling and setting himself up in this town to make more and more money.
Hey, listen, maybe he gave it to Virgil. I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. The last thing, this killed me, was in the end when they're doing the epilogues of so-and-so did this, so-and-so did this. And this to me was just so like the smoking gun for everything I talked about earlier. Maddie died of a drug overdose 2 years later. That's all they say for her.
Well, what do you want?
Man, oh.
Also, that is such a big thing where it's like her name was Celia Ann, but you can call her Maddie. I was like, who?
Oh my God,
is this a
two.
fucking Middle Ditch and Schwartz bit?
Right. Oh my God, that cracked me up in the moment when you brought that up. You have your nickname is two first names. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
The last question I want to ask: do you think Doc Holliday was cheating at cards?
It's funny because I think that a lot of people think that he was. It's sort of split. A lot of people take the circumstantial evidence, especially a lot of sources after the movie come out, say, "Oh yeah, he cheated." But then a lot of, if you look, a lot of things before the movie come out are sort of split. So I'm kind of split. I'm sure he did. But I don't think he cheated. I don't think he had a reputation for cheating.
Gotcha.
But
it was kind of one of those things that like it happened then, you know.
Maybe. Who knows? I wasn't there.
Gotcha.
Do you think he cheated?
Why weren't you there? Come on. Do I think he cheated? I think he did. I think in the scenes where, that was established or like people people accused him, I think he was cheating. I think he was smooth, he was kind of a soft, not soft spoken, but he was a smooth talker,
Yeah.
So I think that he was, but like, he was so confident. He's established in his craft. He knows what he's doing. He's not going to get caught.
Sure.
So I guess, CJ, if there's nothing else to bring up, is the film okie dokie? Oh,
the film is definitely okie dokie. Big thumbs up.
I would definitely agree. I would say this is an okie dokie as well. So that means it has the winner of the okie dokie smoky artichoke, whatever we called it.
The soda, yeah.
No. I'm still firmly against that.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it. Thank you for bringing that to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to introduce a new feature this week. I'm looking at how long we've been recording, and I don't mind, but I don't mind.
I'm stealing this from a podcast I listen to. Shout out to Chris Diggins on the Mostly Nitpicking podcast. 5-star podcast, 5-star runtime.
Okay, you did the whole thing for him. Good job, Chris. What was his name?
Chris Diggins.
Chris Diggins. Good job.
I brought to the table. We're going to start doing CJ came up with the idea right before we started recording what to name it. We're going to call it the Rec Room. We're just at the end of the podcast.
Can I be honest with you really quick?
Yeah.
I thought you called it the Rec Room. Did you not call it the Rec Room?
No, I did not.
I called it the Rec Room.
You called it the Rec Room.
Oh, okay. Damn. All right.
So pretty much at the end of the podcast, before we talk about what's going to happen next time on the Film is Okie Dokie, we're just going to talk about, recommendations we might have, anything we've done lately or watched or played, anything that we want to recommend to you, the listener. CJ, do you have any recommendations for our viewers, listeners at home?
Yeah. So if you liked Tombstone, if you liked this Western, I'm going to tell you an unfortunate truth. There really isn't a comparable one that is the same level of memorable and quotable and all those other things. I have looked and I haven't found one. So instead, I'm going to tell you another one of my favorite Westerns. And we're going to go back to The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. That's right.
That's one of the ones I have seen.
The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. He was the bravest of them all. Starring John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart. And Lee Marvin, obviously. One of my favorite movies. It has, if people don't like the first Western that I show them, I always show them this one as a follow-up. Because it is a great film. It has a lot of charm to it. It is black and white. If that's not your thing, I'm sorry. It's directed by legendary director John Ford. It is by every definition, one of the better Westerns that you can watch from this time. This came out in 1962. The first time that Jimmy Stewart and John Wayne are acting across from each other. It's got a great cast. It's got Lee Van Cleef in it. If you ever watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think John Carradine was in it as well. So, great movie. I just watched it this week. If you want to see another Western that you're definitely going to enjoy, you can check out The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And as far as television goes, watch Ted Lasso.
We're just going to recommend that every week.
Yeah, I'm starting it over again.
Again?
Yeah, I'm on.
Oh, Lord.
I'm on number 6.
What?
Yeah.
I thought you were on 3.
No, I was definitely on 5.
What?
Yeah. I was on 4 when we watched Tombstone. Then I was on 5. Now I'm on 6.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
I go through it quickly, okay?
All right. I have a couple recommendations. The first is that one of my all-time favorite bands, my favorite contemporary band, my favorite band that it's still releasing music, Khruangbin. That's spelled with an H, Khruangbin. They're kind of like a psychedelic rock band. They're kind of a genre of their own, but kind of psychedelic rock. Strong influences of like surf rock, soul. They're from Houston, so there's a bit of like Western styling to it. They just released a new album called A La Sala, which is Spanish for like to the living room or to like the lounge. Depends on the context, but their music, like the vocals, it's mostly instrumental. They usually use vocals as part of the instrumental, not like as, the lyrics are very minimalist. I can really only think of like 2 or 3 songs off the top of my head that have like, structured verses and choruses. But anyway, they released a new album called A La Sala. I've listened to it for the first time today. I loved it. It's more Khruangbin. If you like Khruangbin, it's more Khruangbin. A couple standouts for the album for me are the songs May 9th, the song 3 from 2, and the song A Love International. So that's one of my recs is A La Sala by Khruangbin. I have 2 movie recs, and I haven't watched these necessarily like just this week. I haven't talked about movies I've watched lately on this pod, but 2 movies I've watched in the past month or 2. The first one is the one I mentioned earlier that my partner and I saw that we just talked about so much over the ensuing days was Late Night with the Devil. We were lucky enough to see it its opening weekend. And there is a discussion to be had about this movie and its use of AI. If you're unaware, AI was used to create 3 graphics that are in the movie, which, it's pretty upsetting. As you've heard me talk about on this podcast, I am vehemently against AI. I think it's going to be a slippery slope, especially in the movie production business. And, this is how it starts. It starts with, oh, well, we just used it in this case under these, like circumstances that we then, humans then worked on afterwards. This is how it starts. The studios are gonna keep towing the line with what they can get away with. Other than that, AI aside, I thought it was a terrific horror film. I thought it was really clever, great ending. So big recommend for Late Night with the Devil. I'm sure by the time this comes out, it'll be on streaming. I guess I should talk briefly about what it's about. It stars David Dastmalchian. He is a late night host in the 70s, I believe. And he's a fictional character who's going up against Johnny Carson, always struggling for ratings. And as for a Halloween special, they bring on some people who proclaim to have connections with, paranatural stuff. And chaos ends up ensuing on this live taping of a late night show. A second movie I wanted to recommend. I solely recommending this just because it's a really, film most people will probably never heard of. It's a movie called Jallikattu. It's a 2019 Mollywood film out of the Kerala state in India. Pretty much the premise of this movie is a bull gets loose in the town, and it's this group of people all trying to catch this bull for varying motivations. It's not very long. I think it's 90 minutes. It's very chaotic, and it uses long shots really effectively to, it helps set the stage of the town and, establish key places in the town and establishes character dynamics really well and efficiently and what characters' general gists are. It's a little heavy-handed with its ending, but generally I liked it and wanted to give it a shout because I feel like most people wouldn't hear about people talking about it. So again, that's Jallikattu, Jallikattu. The other stuff I recommended was Late Night with the Devil and Alasala by Kruangbin. And CJ, you recommended Ted Lasso again. And
technically, this is the first time we've ever recommended anything.
Fair enough. You recommended Ted Lasso as you go on your 6th rewatch, and you also recommended Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. But CJ, are you ready to hear what we are doing next time on the film?
I'm a little nervous, but I'm here for it. Yeah.
All right. So in this movie, in Tombstone, Virgil, as you talked about, he gets shot in the arm. He loses function of his arm. Now, were this movie to continue, or if we were to follow the story of Virgil, I'm sure he would set out with the intent of getting a new arm. That's right. This movie is part 1 in our duology of getting a new arm.
What the fuck?
Next time on this, CJ, we are watching Armageddon.
What? Who doesn't have an arm in Armageddon?
Well,
oh my God.
They are all
no,
Armageddon.
No.
So thank you all for listening.
God damn it, Tommy.
We will catch you next time when we watch Armageddon,
Fuck.
a movie neither of us have watched.
You've never seen it?
Neither of you. We talked about this in Die Hard, our Die Hard
We
episode.
did?
Yes.
I guess I haven't seen it.
Specifically, I made a note when I was doing a proof listen. Let me pull this up real quick. We brought it up at around the 17-minute mark in our Die Hard episode that neither of us had seen Armageddon. So we're watching Armageddon. I can't wait. CJ, you have anything else to say?
I just want to say you got me twice with 2 dad jokes today that I didn't see coming, and I'm mad about it.
What was the first?
I'm not repeating it. I'm not giving you the satisfaction. Figure it out.
Was it while we were recording? Is it in this episode?
Yeah, it's in there.
All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right.
But yeah, no, I've been CJ.
I've been Tommy. Oh wait, do you want to tell people what they got to do?
Oh yeah. Like, listen, if you like this show, if you want to support us, like, subscribe, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. If you don't give us 5 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. So support the show. It helps us keep making it. I've been CJ again.
I've been Tommy.
And we'll see you next time on The Film is Okie Dokie. Take care.